Hey everybody, this is Maybe I'm Just Not Getting It podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I am your podcast host, Robert Davis. I appreciate everybody. Before we get started, just go through our normal spiel for the episode. Follow me on social media. Instagram is RTD underscore III. Facebook, Robert Trey Davis III. Um, Follow, like, share, comment for the podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. If you listen to it on any different medium, or if you want to listen to it on a different medium, just let me know. I'll put it up there as well. You'll see, also my Facebook and my Instagram pages. We have, reels and everything like that for the podcast on there as well. So make sure you check those out. Appreciate and just like I say every episode, I appreciate everyone for the support, the feedback, the comments, the well wishes, the wants to be on the show. So really appreciate everybody. It helps keep it going. So with that being said, we'll jump into today's episode. This is a rant. I'll just keep it clear up front. So I apologize if it seems kind of disheveled. It's kind of late. One last thing, y'all don't mind the broken blinds in the back. I'll get those fixed by the time next season come out. So just leave those where they is right now. I wasn't trying to like block them the whole time. I didn't feel like sitting like this the whole time. But yeah, so what are we ranting about today? I'm talking about AI, artificial intelligence. I mean, I think it's kind of it's everywhere at the moment, right? Like it's spreading faster than anyone understands, and basically it's like the internet, it's talking back to us in real time. In terms of what it is, it's pretty much like the sci-fi glowing ball that answers every question that you can ask it type of thing. Like that's essentially kind of what we're dealing with, and it's crazy to think about, in real time that is it. And I think everyone is scrambling, obviously, right now to learn. AI is a booming field, and everybody's scrambling to learn how to use it, how to manage it, how to profit from it, how to build with it, how to duplicate it, anything like that. Like everybody's trying to get some sort of handle around it. So it's obvious that this is a hot button area because everything seems to be going there. Sorry. And then it's drawing a lot of attention and it's drawing a lot of attention for obvious reasons because of that, right? I mean, for both positive implications and negative implications and impacts that we're going to get into later in the episode. But it's drawing a lot of attention for both reasons, I mean, as it should. And, I mean, I think, obviously AI in different versions has been out for decades. But this concept of generative AI, these applications, and this concept of kind of like the everyday usage of it in the way that's being pushed now, has only been out since maybe 2022. I think that's when ChatGPT really got introduced to the public. That was barely 4 years ago. So who knows what will be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Shoot, who knows what will be 1 year from now? And so, I mean, I think that's that's a insane thing, insane concept to think about, an insane concept to kind of wrap your head around, is just how far it has come in the time that it has, and how far it possibly could come in a short time going forward. And so, like, why does this topic matter? Or why am I bringing it up? I guess in terms of it, like the first thing is I don't think anybody really knows, or at least I don't. Let me say that I don't know what AI is. Like, I mean, yeah, we know what AI is. Like, I know like Chat GPT, I can type it in anything and it'll do it. But like, what is it? How does it actually work? Like, if I type in, hey, Chat GPT, I need a business plan for my, I want to sell pillows. Can you create me a business plan? How does it actually go about analyzing what I say, assessing that, pulling information from the internet of 1,000 sources or whatever it does, and putting that back to me in a form, and not only doing that but responding to me in a way of saying, in a way of not only trying to present that information but trying to sound human and relate to me while it does it. and still creating, the actual information I'm asking for. Like, and how does it do that? What is it comprised of to make that happen? How are there different levels of quality of AI? Like, is it like what does that entail of? Like, these are just questions I have. There's lots of unknowns about it that I don't think, frankly, I don't think there are answers for at the moment for some of them. And I think that's kind of part of the problem. You know, that AI is taking over every facet of our technology and our culture. Um, all of our, I don't say all, but a majority of our technology, our compliances, our applications are implementing some sort of AI feature or function, and that's problematic to say the least because we're kind of putting the cart before the horse and everybody's buying into this before even really not testing its use because it has been tested and used, I guess, but really understanding like the impact, the true impact that it has before we start putting it into everything. Every every website search bar has an AI application. Every social media application that we see has some sort of AI function or AI assist feature or anything like that. All of our, even technology we use it down to drive-through, down to ordering, down to storefronts. Everything is relying very heavily on AI to stream front processes, to operate in the place of employees, to operate just for whatever reason they want to. Whether that's because you think it makes your job easier, whether it helps keep costs low because you don't have to hire people, or things you would have to do it does automatically, whatever the case may be. It's taking over through technology. And through technology is how it's reaching all different elements of our culture through TV, media, our work, our like our literal employment work, all of it. And as we said before, its implications and usage has vast positive possibilities, but it also has an equal amount of negatives. We're talking about something that could infinitely be used to take all the research in the world that's ever been done and assess it, compile it, compare it, whatever, to create, vaccines for diseases that we've never been able to solve, or create solutions for things like world hunger or poverty or something on a scale that we've never been able to really conceptualize because we've never been able to put our mind around assessing all of these different elements and information and facts in one in one problem set. And this has the ability, to do that. Its implications is in that sense, in that positive sense, are endless. But at the same time, we're talking about something that has also can have a vast negative effect on your ability to critically think, your ability to emotionally connect, to emotionally take accountability or understand other people's perspective over your own, depending on how you look at how using Chat GPT as a therapist, and we'll get on that later, but how that works. You know, the like I said, the critical thinking ability, the writing and reading ability, or just going back to critical thinking of having something do stuff for you, or over relying on the internet to tell you something when it may or may not be right. Just because a computer says it doesn't mean it's right. Um, and I think these are just a few examples of negative possibilities on top of the environmental impact is obvious of taking all the water and power that we have and draining, which is often, again, we'll get into this later, which is oftentimes your either low income or rural areas, for their resources. And just even the choice of where they're putting these AI data centers is something to think about in terms of who's being valued and who this stuff is really serving or what it's for. Um, but I think then that brings me to my next point about why this matters is that AI's impact on people's ability to comprehend, think, inquire, research, all of this is larger than what we give it credit. And I think people are talking about in larger numbers how AI is really impacting people's ability to think critically. But, or, to have a natural inquisition or a natural want to think of, or problem solving or deduction or curiosity about themselves, not just to be like, oh, and then ask chat, what should I think about this or what should I do? Like, I think that is the problem that we come across. Is that it's coming, it is impacting people a lot quicker and a lot heavier than what we really think. And I think we think it's impacting people quickly, and that is the scary part, that it's even faster than that. And I don't, and for me, reason I think that this conversation matters is that I don't really know, like how I said earlier, how I don't know what AI really is, like how it's comprised, how it works, how there's different levels of quality, like all these different things, like how it actually functions, like the meat and bones of it. I think the other part of that is I don't know what's its end game. Like, AI is a tool that has all these different. It's like a Swiss Army knife, but you were given it, or we as a people were given it with no real instruction on what to do with it. It's just like, here, this everything tool for you to just fuck around and have fun with, and just do whatever your mind comes to it. And I think we're seeing in real time where that sort of, I don't want to say freedom, but that sort of just, here's this world changing tool, world changing thing just for you to go, play with and hold your dick with, just doesn't make sense. But, that I guess I don't know what's the purpose of it. And if we don't define what the purpose of this tool is for, then it will define it for us. Like, it will be, it a tool that has no purpose is just used for chaos. You know what I mean? Like, we have to actually instill what we're looking to get out of this, how it's supposed to be used, how are we supposed to go about assessing the information we get from it. I think all of these things are just, like, we got there with the internet eventually, and the internet is still a crazy place. So I that's the craziest thing, is that I don't know how quickly we'll be able to curtail it, and even if we ever will be able to with AI. And like, there's a paranoia, and I think this conversation matters because of this. For a lot of reasons, this is one key one, that there's a paranoia around AI taking over society. That AI is going to take over society, that it's making humans irrelevant, that it's going to take over our jobs, that it's going to destroy our planet. And I say paranoia, but I don't want to make it sound like that's not unreasonable. I don't want to make it sound like that's not unreasonable. I don't want to make it sound like that's not unfathomable thought or anything like that, because I think it very much is. I think it very much is right to be afraid of AI, in a sense. I don't want to say afraid of AI. It's very much right to be paranoid of its use, of its impact, and of its effect on people, on our world, on our environment, on our culture, all that stuff. And how it, on our professions, on our job markets, on our economy. And I think until we address that tension, which comes with addressing how AI is used, how, in a professional workspace, in an entertainment workspace, in a just playing the fuck around workspace, and all those different, like, until we address this and kind of get a handle on it, then there will always be this growing tension, and it will keep bubbling even further, where people are going to be increasingly resistant and pissed off to this, while business is telling us this is the future and you got to get with it. And then, as we talk. I mean, and just kind of we went back to here the societal impact of this. While the impact, I mean, while it has all these positive impacts, the societal impact, if it is severe, it caused. I mean, AI, not AI, but AI in terms of producing these massive amounts of data centers and these, that are funded. I mean, that are pretty much running all these apps and things that we're using to create AI, whatever, at any given points of the day, are taking up massive amounts of water and massive amounts of power, and they're putting these data centers, like I said, and I'll get to that later. But like it has a massive amount of environmental damage and environmental usage of resources that we have to account for. Again, the human pushback and the human paranoia are real. People are really pissed off about, how AI has come in, how it has been able to just quickly be used to side cut people, or to sweep their feet right about them and get them out of jobs, or to take to mimic their artwork in a poor way but it's good enough for what a business cares about. And people see pretty much the writing on the wall in a lot of different industries that it's going to be used to cut a lot of things out, and eventually it's going to be them if it's not them already. And just the other unethical uses of the fake videos and the massive amounts of fake videos that we all see. Um, the societal impact on AI is extremely severe in all these different ways, and until we can again get a understanding of that, we're going to struggle with its usage. But we have to do something about that because its impact is severe and it is hurting us. Um, and then like some examples, just to kind of speak on this a little bit more. Like we talked about the influx of AI in our apps and the technology. We talked about like every app. Facebook has an AI function. Facebook has an AI function. Google has an AI function. Every search bar has an AI function. Chat GPT is 1,000 different versions of a Chat GPT out there right now. Then there's all these different things for you to make your AI gifs or little funny videos with, and you can use AI in like I said in any sort of messenger app for things. I mean again you can use it for things as complex as in your workplace to assess large data sets, to anything just as simple as wanting to make a meme to send to your friends. It's everywhere in our apps and our technology, and that sort of vast amount of application and changeability is impressive to say the least. But that's why it's going to stay around. Um, and then one thing I want to talk about in terms of just another example, regarding this is this is the socio-environmental impact of these data centers. So, like, it's no surprise that if you have a product that is going to use vast amount of resources, and I mean vast amount of resources, like unsafe. I won't say unsafe, but almost un you can't. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Unsustainable. There we go. It's an unsustainable amount of resources that it uses. So there's no surprise that if a data center, or if your product, let me be more generic right now, if your product has a massive amount of resources that it uses in order to operate, and it almost seems unsustainable, there is no surprise that you would put those data centers or that product, where that factory or whatever needs to be created to make that product, that you would put those in areas that were undesirable, like low income or rural areas where a lot of these data centers are, because that's the people that they view as the ones that they can, that are the least valuable first. So therefore, you get your resources tapped first. And if your county runs out of water in some little place in Texas, oh well, because we'd rather it be you than us. And I think that is a telling view of how our government looks at us and looks at different sections of this country, especially again low income and rural areas, and how people need to wake up to that. Because if you are in an area where they have tried or have put a data center, then that means you are usually in an area that they don't give a shit about. And it's important to know why. Um, and then one thing I wanted to talk about was the concept of the AI slop. So I mean, we've seen, and the AI slop is in a lot of different ways, but it's generally to me is based upon this over reliance on AI to produce accurate and quality products and accurate and quality information, and that comes in a lot of different forms. For one, I think you know I work in a field where it's a business slash legal field. A lot of compliance, writing work, legality, contract, all sort of stuff. Where I do have to use where I've had to use AI, and I have to use it. I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm not against using AI in this statement. I think it has to be used. I think it's a tool that's in our society, and this is a bell that, as I will talk about later, it's a bell that's not going to be unrung. But I think there has to be ways that we have to think about how to manage it, how to ethically use it, and how to mitigate the risks that come with it. And I have to use it to not create any work, but oftentimes I use it to revise reporting, to assess if I have extremely large data sets, maybe to assess that. But that's about it. Generally in a supplemental support type of role for me. But at the same time, I can understand a lot of people, especially teachers, in the grade school level, where you have students that are just, hey, AI, I need you to write my paper for my social studies class, and they come in with a paper written about, like could be about Tilla the Hun or something like that, and it's just a bunch of AI crap that is AI just brought a whole bunch of stuff out. Or hey, I need you to write me a story about a date. I have a book report, or I have a story I need to write, or I have this or that sort of report or sort of narrative I have to create, and AI just writes whatever, and you can tell based upon the language and the kind of like the inconsequential wording choices and stuff like that that is made up. It might give you inaccurate information, words in wrong places, or weird sounding sentences. And people oftentimes are just not even looking at it. They're just turning stuff in as, hey, I did this and I just submit it back. I know you can ask people questions, and they will look on AI. They will literally take your question to AI. And this is in business and in school, like anywhere. They will take your question to AI, put it in there, and whatever AI spits out, they will copy and paste it right back to you. That's AI. I mean, and you can look and say, well, this is AI slop. It don't really answer my question, but that's that. I mean, it's just, like that's what it is. But it's this over reliance on AI slop, and the part that I want to speak about even more is relying on AI as if it is always going to be correct. When you can tell AI many times, especially if you ask very technical questions, to double check your work, and a lot of times it's going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was incorrect. Oh, I'm sorry. Upon pulling up more sources, that was not the correct answer. But we just rely upon it because we just have this belief that the internet just can't be wrong, even though the internet is wrong all the time, lies to us all the time. And to speak about it positively for a minute, yes, it can be used to, like I said, you can analyze large data sets with it. You know, you can use it to help analyze large amounts or vast differently amounts of data, or even data in that is at any other time would have been inaccessible because you just would not have had access to pull from every element of the internet. And so it can be used for all of that. It can be used to transcribe. Doctors can use to transcribe meeting notes in real time to save time to help address patients. It can be help used to help create for teachers to help create lesson plans and save them time to um, dedicate more to trying to do other things in their educational lesson plans other than just trying to create it itself. Like it has so many different concepts, and my work it does not my work specifically, but I see in businesses is doing a lot of streamlining of processes, which is my work of assessing processes and stuff like that. And if it's able to streamline a few things, is able to take a few things off of people's plates or automatically just kind of do stuff itself, that's a positive that it has, and that's why it's not going away, because it does have all these actual real life positive values to it. And I want to be clear in terms of when I speak about AI that it does have positives, and it's not going anywhere because it does have positives. But we have to again assess and evaluate how to get the best from it while limiting the worst of it. Um, and then one thing, coming back to the negative side for a bit, is like I think one problem with AI is that when you just allow a tool that can be created by a tool that can create anything for anyone with no sort of real requirement or minimum entry, just you could just type in 2 words and it would try to pull something. You could type in dumb nigger and it's gonna pull like some black coon looking guy with big lips dancing. Like it's gonna do something. You know what I mean? And I think the reason I used the dumb nigger part was because I did that for a reason, was because like I think we saw, not as much now, but still, is that you had a lot of racist or sexist, vulgar, just extremely idiotic type of AI generated content, especially on social media. That I think is the I don't want to say it's the thing that the biggest thing that people use it for, but it's what a lot of people I think, especially younger people on the internet, use it for. And, which is cool. I mean, the same thing that they use Twitter and Vine and Instagram and all these other, the social media is past and present for. But it's just that same concept. And I think that is kind of the problem that we come to, is that you have all this kind of pointless, you silly, idiotic content where it has all these negative impacts for us to even use it to create it, and yet we're just kind of going just throwing it in and like, hey, I want to create another meme of or another video of a gorilla doing a podcast talking about um, how it loves Greensboro, North Carolina for XYZ reason. Like that doesn't make sense. Like why are we like what? You would think that when we have a tool to do anything in the world, we would use it for more than such silly things, but maybe not. Um, and then just stick on the social media concept for a second. The algorithm is AI, right? And so this is literally the snake feeding its own tail. Like the thing that we see that is feeding us videos on all of our feeds, that is trying to guess who we are, that is trying to predict who we are, what we like, the boxes that is trying to put us in, and they want us to put ourselves in as well. And that is all AI doing that, and it's learning how to more accurately do it and how to more quickly do it every second. And I think if we don't, I think it's almost like training your own, like you're sharpening the blade that's used to hurt you. Like we have to manage and stop that. And I think, we're giving it so much information that it is actively using to kind of nullify us in a lot of ways. Um, and then like I hate that AI. Obviously AI is used in the sense of the arts, right? No, like just another example of it. In the sense of the arts, you're just taking from established works and you're not creating anything. And it's really impacting a lot of people, right? It's impacting musicians, it's impacting artists, it's impacting actors, it's impacting like the whole public art scene because they're having to compete with something that is not even trying to create quality. It is just literally completing a task. But it can pull anything anytime and it may not again be quality, but it can do just enough to where these people can get cut out because art is subjective, right? And it allows people to create art without really having to create art, which cuts artists out. Um, and I think that's just another example of just how it's cutting different people out of or different jobs, how it's making different jobs or different things irrelevant. And how do you make art irrelevant? Like I did, that's not even possible really, but it's trying to find a way in that sense. Um, and then one thing I wanted to talk about because like the thing about the art really does bother me in terms of just how it's just taking from other people art styles or what it's done how things looked art all of it characters all of it and it just takes it and mixes it all into whatever you want it to be but that's one thing I really hate but another thing I really cannot get over is this humanizing of AI and it's using AI as your friend, using it as your therapist, using it as your mentor, your coach. Um, and I think the reason I can't get over that is because it's extremely dangerous. And not only extremely dangerous, but it can't, like, AI can't be used to replace human interactions. And I think in a time where people are becoming increasingly antisocial, increasingly anxious, increasingly unwilling to want to communicate with each other for whatever reason, that AI is providing people the ability to have full narrative conversation with without actually having to engage in something that will push back on it and make it think. And I think people love and people and the thing is, I think people love talking to AI for the obvious reason one that it's there, it's easy to talk to, but two that it never is going to tell you anything that's going to make you uncomfortable. Like it's going to make you feel like it is. It's going to like try to set you up to say it's telling you something like oh yeah here like what you're understood and here's something else that like but that's not a hard truth. It doesn't give you hard truths because it doesn't want you to turn it off. Um, but sometimes that's what it needs. And I think this concept, like the whole "hey chat" and talking, like it's not chat. It is AI. It is a thing. It is not a person. And I think using it as your friend is dangerous because the same as I think using it as your therapist in there is dangerous because it's never going to tell you no. It's never going to tell you that you're wrong. It's never going to tell you that you need to look at things differently. It's never going to challenge you. It's always just going to find a way to pacify you in the sense of kind of co-sign you in whatever way that it can. Um, or making you could tell Chad, hey, look, I'm thinking about going to kill somebody. Well, your feelings are valid. Sometimes we all feel like that, and it like that's not the message that you need to bring, you um, and I think the craziest thing is that even the opposition that is against AI, and again, we see it on social media all the time, and it goes back to what I'm saying, what the point I'm about to make. Then we can see it on social media all the time that there's people that are very opposed to AI and they're making doubt content and art and everything, and they're trying to fight as much as they can. But whether they know it or they're unknowingly doing it, they're still using it. People will get, like, will talk about AI and then get on social media, which is, apps used and funded by, used, which are using and supporting AI in order to create their content or to post their content. I can make this video about AI, but every time I use Google, it is using AI to search for what I'm asking for. Like, and I can use Google thinking, oh, I'm gonna use Google and not use AI. Like, there is no way to really get around it, and I think that is a concerning thing, and it's scary as shit that you really just cannot find a way outside of it because of how it's based in technology. It has tentacles everywhere, and if you want to really oppose AI, I don't know how you can really get yourself away from every element of it because it seems so entrenched in entrenched in modern technology that if you are any sort of person using any sort of modern technology, especially different devices, you're going to be coming across it whether you like it or not. And so, concerns I have about this, I know I talk about mostly as concerns, but concerns I have about this is that obviously AI is taking the place of critical thought, and we're asking and letting computers think for us and dictate our lives. And I think it's one thing to have your demise come. It's another thing to welcome it with open arms and hold his hand as he comes. As he walks through. Like, that's wild to me. But I think we're letting. I think a lot of people are letting computers start to think for them in the sense of they've been asking AI for so long, so now they become over dependent on just listening to it. So where now the first thing in their mind is, let me just ask this instead of let me think for myself. And one reason I think that's the case is because it's ease of use is making people obviously lazily rely on it because it allows the creation without putting in thought or effort. And so imagine how effective a tool would be where you can give it any sort of information to any sort of extent or amount, and it will, I won't say effectively, but it will draw up a tangible tangible product for it. And so you could come to, and I'm using an example that I heard I think it was a comedian do, so I apologize, and very loosely, but you can have AI. You can just say, AI, I have an idea. I want to start a business where we specialize in selling bats, like selling roaches. Let me say bats, like the bats that fly, but we'll say selling roaches. And we're gonna make a boutique roach selling business. But and I know that there is gonna be and I feel like this is gonna take off. I want you to draw me up a business plan for selling cockroaches. And ChatGPT will, and it will do it. It will tell you. It will tell you, okay, that's great. I'm glad you're taking initiative. Let's get started. These are the things you need to do. X, Y. But it will never tell you that it's probably a stupid idea to sell cockroaches. It's going to support. It's always going to blindly support. And blind support is not real support. Because if you're just pushing somebody forward without actually looking at where they're going, then you'll push them right off the same cliff that they were running off of on their own. So you didn't really help them. And so that's where we have to kind of get out of this thing of, and also there's it used to be one of the natural barriers to life is effort. If you want something, you have to work for it. And that's the reason why AI makes people so reliant on it, is because it allows you to do things without really having to put effort into it. You could have Chat GPT right now write you a whole novel. You could be an established author right now without doing a thing, just by saying, Chat GPT, can you write me an article like War and Peace? I mean, write me a novel like War and Peace, and it will. You didn't put any effort into it. You didn't think about anything. You didn't come up with any ideas. You didn't do anything. You just asked it a question, and it did it. And that sort of ability to do, just to create whatever you want with as little information or effort as possible, is not how the natural order of things should work. You should have to work in order to make things, yeah, in order to create these sort of things. And so, yeah, there's the thing about having a great novel is somebody had to write it. They had to think of it. They had to write it. The great thing about having a great artist, somebody had to draw it. Thing about having, you know, a, an ironclad business contract is somebody had to think of the terms, not just asking ChatGPT to do it for you. And as we said, before, streamlining people obviously out of jobs and hobbies, both in business and creative spaces, and that's why people are getting pissed. Because imagine you lose your job, and then maybe you lost your job, and then you want to, express yourself online and create content, and you can't even, and maybe you want to be a content creator, and now you're struggling to do that because AI, people can create all the content that you created with AI just as quickly. Oh, you're a musician? Well, I'm gonna create. You're a musician? Well, I don't have any musical talent. I can't sing, but I'm gonna create an AI person to sing for me, and just have it create some lyrics for a song, write, and put it out. Now I got AI doing that for me. It's just so. It's a way of like streamlining processes and things are good until it gets to the point where it's actually putting people out, and putting people out both in a business and a creative sense, or hobby, a second place, that's sense, is scary. Because once you take everything from people, they ain't got nothing left, and people with nothing left are not people you want to be around, because they generally are going to do some crazy shit. And then another concern I have is just AI generated content is easily passing as real. And it's becoming increasingly hard to tell the difference. So we've seen this all over. We've seen it with and I'm glad they made them stop the videos. It was like a lot of the sports type of videos and stuff. I forget the little company. But yeah, I mean, it still has its elements that if you are not trained but able to recognize it, you understand, like, oh yeah, you see things happen in these videos, stuff going the wrong way or worded wrong, or stuff that was open that wasn't open before. It's like, okay, this is AI. But to the untrained eye, you wouldn't know. How many times people would be like, oh, look at this video, I can't believe they did this. Like, this because it's AI. This isn't real. And it's like, oh, dang. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, they can have a video of Barack Obama and Martin Luther King high fiving each other in a pool full of Kool-Aid on the top of Mount Everest. And somebody might think that's real because they saw it in a video. And it's like, but that's where we're getting to in terms of just how this content can be passed off easily. I mean, people can fake crimes. You can you can literally fake a crime of somebody. And you can fake a crime of Jake Paul robbing a store using AI right now. Like, that's wild. Not knowing, not personally knowing who he is, not personally knowing anything about him, you could use that and frame him with it, and he'd get the other. You know what I'm saying? You could do it. Imagine just for a known person, somebody could frame me right now and have me in an AI video doing something crazy. That's wild, and it's wild that they could. It's wild that AI could create something that is so impressionable that people would think that was it. And its impact on children is becoming profoundly dangerous. Through like kids, I think are going to use it the most, obviously, because it's the most. They're going to be the ones that are going to be the most open to it, because when you're younger, I guess that intuition kind of comes quicker to you with it, right? Uh, and then you have more time and exposure to it after that. But it's killing these kids' ability to think and their effort level of wanting to even try. It's killing both of those, because some of these kids aren't even trying to think. Why? And I can't particularly blame them. Why would you? You have something to do it for you. But that leads to stuff like no common sense. It leads to stuff like when you can't evaluate how you're supposed to feel, and it's like, I mean, because this was a kid. Chad, how am I supposed to feel about this? What am I supposed to be feeling right now? When your friend asks you something or something like that, and then you don't have, social skill, you don't have emotional intelligence, you don't have common sense, and we're raising a bunch of, and I don't want to just make, but this is on the children. So yes, I'm going to talk about children. We're raising a class of young people that will struggle with doing simple life interactions, because they're used to having something affirm them in an unrealistic way through it, instead of them being able to experience and identify life in real time. And instead of having this coddling, telling you what you want to hear type of mechanism, we need to have some, be able to support these people, these young people, to say, hey, we were, in your shoes once. We want to be able to help. We want to be able to hear you out. You have support from us. And I think until we can get back to wanting to provide our children that support and provide our children that space, they're going to keep relying on and cutting and being able to do that in a way to where we don't tell them, because AI is going to be around, but that they know that interaction, that human connection, is still the prevalent base thing that they need to look for. If we can do that, then we'll be fine. But until we do that, it's going to be a problem. And like AI, I believe, is the tipping point of innovation and technology, in the sense of this being this tool that can do anything, answer anything, create anything out of nothing, but just the cloud. But are we creating our own demise? Have we went to the point too far? And I think that's something we have to ask, because if the implication of this is that it can do all these things, but it costs us our environment and our planet to do it, is it really worth it? I don't think so, but that's just me. And like, are we ushering in our own doom? I hope not. And AI is everywhere. So how do we curtail or mitigate this risk? Because we can't unintroduce this. We can't unring this bell. It is here. It is going. People aren't going to stop. And so we have to try to find a way to mitigate it. Because when I say people aren't going to stop, the only way I think people would stop is if it was truly somehow after that identified as being a negative or a threat or a poison to our society. Then I could see people being like, okay, I'm gonna stop using AI. But until then, I don't see people stopping using AI. I mean, could we stop if we truly needed to? I don't know. I don't think so. But I know that since there is no element to where somebody's going to make it state that we truly need to stop, we ain't. So we got to learn how to use it, and we got to learn how to effectively manage it. And so to conclude this episode, 'cause I know again I was ranting for a while. To conclude this episode, kind of like I definitely say AI. It seems like a train that's running quick, that's quickly headed off the tracks, like just speeding down the rails, and it's shaking. You know what I mean? It's going off, and we don't seem to have any idea of how to stop it currently. And it's like half of us feel like, oh, it's the future and we're good. We'll ride it out. The other half of us feel like, hey, this shit about to be catastrophic, and we done going off. And I don't know if the answer is either one of those extremes or if it's somewhere in the middle, but it's obviously it's somewhere. And I think if we don't prepare for where for something, we're going to be fucked over with wherever we get. Quite honestly, and we have to manage it. Like we have to manage it so we can get the most of the positives. Like I was saying, so we can get the most of the positives from it while mitigating and limiting the negatives. That is what I think the best we're going to be able to get out of AI is. I don't think that we're ever going to be in a spot where people are going to stop using it. I don't think we're and I don't think we should, quite frankly, because I do think that it has a lot of positive outcomes. I do think it has enough negative outcomes, enough extremely negative outcomes, that we do have to take a serious look on how we use it. We do have to try to modify and restrict how we use it, but you can't unring a bell. And when you've introduced technology of this stature and this nature and this ease and intuitiveness to people, you can't expect them not to use it. We can only hope that they use it for better than making stupid ass videos again of gorillas doing podcasts or whatever. You know. But I just think it's making us overly reliant on technology to think for us instead of assisting us with our thinking, instead of assisting us with our work, instead of making our lives easier. It is living for us and it's trying to do for us. And that will never be the case. I mean, that will never be a recipe for success. And again, saying we can't unring this bell. So AI is here to stay. And if we don't find a way to manage it, then it will most definitely, most certainly find a way to manage us. So I appreciate y'all listening to me rant. I just had to get that off my chest. You can see it's kind of late at night. So I appreciate y'all letting me get that off my chest. Appreciate y'all. Maybe I'm just not getting a podcast. Again, follow me on social media, Instagram, RTD underscore III, Facebook, Robert Trey Davis III. Follow me again. Follow the podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. Appreciate all y'all. I'll see you on the next episode. All right, love y'all. Out.